A minute and we're going to break down net metering 2.0 that NB Power is proposing. Now, I want to get something straight before we start this video. The old net metering is available until the end of October. Everything I'm going to talk about is proposed. Everybody is jumping on the old plan. If you're interested in solar, head over to eastcoastsun.ca. I'll make you a proposal. You'll be grandfathered in for at least 10 years. So none of this is active now. It's being proposed. We're fighting it. I'm going to explain it. So let's dive in. Okay, so currently our net metering program, it allows us to send power back to the grid at 1-to-1. So right now it's raining out, it's a crappy day. We can use the power that we put on the grid yesterday and we get the same value for it as what we put forward. So that's great news. At the end of March, whatever we've collected over the summer, if we have any extra, it gets zeroed out. So also the maximum net metered size we can do is 100 kilowatts. So farms and stuff, they're capped at 100 kilowatts. That was a bit of an issue for them. Most houses are 10 to 15. And there's no charge to apply for it for net metering. And there's no demand charges. We're given the retail rate. And it's a good deal. It's a sweet deal. It's stimulated solar in the province for quite some time. And now what's happened is there's about 0.5% of all customers with NB Power are on this net metering. And NB Power is starting to get a little concerned. We're not paying them. We're not paying our fair share, and I'll get into that. And I'll talk about their point of view, or the Energy and Utilities Board's point of view behind that statement. So the main reason, which we are told, for the restructure of this rate is because there is cross-subsidization happening between non-solar customers and solar customers. So how could that be, Rudy? They ask me. How are you saying that the regular rate payer is actually helping the solar customer out? And NB Power's point of view is that when a solar customer sends a kilowatt hour back to the grid, we get what is around 16 cents a kilowatt hour credit for it, which is what everyone else pays for their power. So it goes out to the grid and it goes down the road and it goes to the neighbor's house. And they purchase it for the retail rate of 16 cents a kilowatt hour. NB Power will argue that that kilowatt hour did not cost them that to make. It might have cost them 4 cents a kilowatt hour, depending on where it came from. And the extra cost involved with that would be sending it through the transmission lines, sending it through distribution, through the substations, through the transformers, all this equipment that they've purchased, that we have purchased as a population. And the actual costs of them to deliver that kilowatt hour from whatever generating source that they had is 16 cents. So why are they paying the solar customer 16 cents? Because it actually didn't cost that much to generate. I would argue that, hey, we didn't even use the transmission lines or the distribution lines or the substations. It just went out and the neighbor shopped as local as he possibly could for his electricity, unbeknownst to him, and they got it at that rate. So there's a cross-subsidization, and apparently the Energy and Utility Board has commanded NB Power to fix this cross-subsidization. So they introduced net metering. We're going to call it net metering 2.0, and we're going to go over that. So I'm going to put a thing on the screen here, and it's going to talk about what changes are on deck. So we're going to start with the good things. So there's a few good things that we'll call them the little carrots that make you say, hey man, that's pretty stinking sweet. Okay, number one, the electricity, if you go on net metering, if you put one solar panel on your home, this would be if this proposed plan goes through after October this year. And if they get everything they want, we're going to talk hypothetically. I think there are going to be some people who actually have a pretty good brain on them, that have some common sense, and that will say, this is ludicrous, ain't happening. Anyways, let's pretend it does. Okay, Number one, if you have one solar panel on your home, your electricity rate will now be 40% off from everything that you buy from the grid. So compared to your neighbor, now we got to talk about being fair here. So if you put one solar panel on your house, then your electricity is now 40% cheaper than the neighbor had to pay. That's a pretty sweet deal. I know what you're thinking. You're going, Rudy, put a solar panel on my house. I just want one so I can get a sweet discount on my rate. Okay, that's a sweet deal. Let's talk about some more sweet deals. Net metering. Hey, I live in a jungle. I can't get sun into my property, but I have a cottage. I could put solar on that. Can I use the cottage to offset my power bill at my house? I can just load my cottage full of panels, even though I don't use that much power, and then use it here. Well, right now you can't, but on the new net metering proposed, you can do that, and they're calling it virtual net metering. So they're going to require a grid impact assessment. They're just going to make sure that you're not going to dump a whole bunch of power down at some end of a dirt road somewhere, and it might not make sense for them. I get that. Makes sense. So next thing, maximum capacity. Before we were capped at 100 kilowatts. The only guys hitting that was farms, probably big, heavy users. 100 kilowatts was the max. They are going to have a 500 kilowatt max now, and the potential up to 1 megawatt, which is 1,000 kilowatts. That's a huge project. So they're going to get rid of that cap. Also, great news, right? Look at all this great news. You guys better watch this to the end, because I don't want you leaving here with some bad info. So the export credit, that is 1-to-1 right now. I guess we're getting into the bad news now. No, let's keep on with the good news. Hold on. The annual reconciliation. On the current plan, if you don't use all the power that you created in the run of the year, at the end of NB Power's fiscal year end, which is March, the end of March, 31st, your credits get zeroed out. You do not get a check. That money is gone into the wind, and that is why I want to know what your power bill is, because when I design and build your system, I want to make sure that I'm not making more power than you need. Some companies are guilty of that. Shame on them. With the new net metering, proposed new net metering, you are going to be able to get paid out as a credit, email, money transfer, or a check. So if you make more power than you use, you will get a check for it. Sweet, right? Let's fill the yard with way more than what we need, and we'll get paid for it. Okay, everyone loves that. Great idea, right? Okay, so first of all, if we just left it at that, we would definitely be getting cross-subsidization, because we got 40% off our power bill, and we get all these other perks, right? So the big one is, well, let's start on the export credit. Right now we get 1-to-1. If they get what they want in the new year, you are only going to get, you're going to be buying your electricity at 40% of what the current rate is, but you'll actually only be getting almost 7 cents, 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour when you send it back to the grid. Currently, we get the full retail rate, 1-to-1. This is about a third about what we're getting right now. We'll just say it's a third. And so now you can't really store electricity from the winter until the summer unless you send 3 times of it back for later use that you can because you'll have that credit. And the credit won't just be kilowatt hours, it'll be a monetary value, right? Because you can get a check for it if you don't use it. So that's a bad thing. Suddenly the value of the electricity that we're sending back to the grid is only worth a third. So what's that going to do? It's going to make people go, well, frig, I'm just going to put a battery in. Why am I going to buy electricity from them? Or why am I going to send electricity back to the grid and when I get the value of it chopped in a third? I'm just going to store it for myself, and I'll use it tonight when it's dark, right? And then I'll get the full value of it and get 3 times as much for it because I'm not buying it, right? So there's a case for battery. Remember this big game of chess we talked about with NB Power? They want to play. And they need to be careful, and I'll get into that later. So what else is bad? The big bad one. Here's the big bad one. A demand charge. So what is a demand charge? I made a video about how if you drive a vehicle, say from Fredericton to Moncton, and once you get there, you're down half a tank, that's your consumption. That's how many kilowatt hours you've used, and a measurement of volume of energy. The demand charge is how high your tachometer went on the way there. If you had to pass a car and it went to 5,000 RPM, I'm charging you $10 per 1,000 RPM. So that's your demand charge. Never heard of that before, right? If you're a commercial customer, you know what demand charges are. I think it's 16 cents a kilowatt after 20 kilowatts. So if I turn my water heater on, my hair dryer, I have my electric heat on, I am running, charging my electric car, I'm cooking a turkey in the oven, the demand charges on that, I mean, all those things that I just mentioned, it could be 30 kilowatts. So what they're proposing is 30 kilowatts times $13. It's going to be like $150 to $170. That's just me guessing. They're going to take the peak, your peak amount of power that is being used for the average of 1 hour, and they're going to, and that's between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock, 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. This is the peak time. Don't get me started on why a peak time is 15 hours long. This is the geniuses at NB Power decided they're going to call a peak time most of the day. I know, it's stupid. Anyways, I don't think we've ever seen a peak time. Peaks are usually pointy, right? When you think of a mountain peak, they're pointy. They don't last a big flat line all day long. So I think it's NB Power. I know it's NB Power, just getting a little bit greedy. And they're starting out on these solar customers. But we're the goal of NB Power is to have fairness across all ratepayers, and they don't want any cross subsidies. However, we're going to propose a demand charge that starts at 0, and we're going to impose it on the customers that know the most about electricity and that have actually spent their own money to try to do the right thing and maybe help with the grid and save money. That's why we're all here. So this demand charge is proposed to start at 0 kilowatts. So what does that mean for you? So you put one solar panel on your house, so you can get 40% off your electricity. If you run your water heater and you run your water pump and you run your dishwasher all at the same time, let's say it's 10 kilowatts. So you've now pulled 10 kilowatts from the grid for an average of an hour, we'll say. And, you know, someone will argue, well, you don't use a hairdryer for an hour. Well, no, you don't. But, you know, you use your dishwasher and you charge your electric car and you heat your water for an hour and you run your hot tub for an hour. And it only has to happen for 1 hour, whatever your peak is, you're over the average, over 1 hour average for the entire month. So if you hit that and you use 10 kilowatts, it's $130. If you have a on-demand water heater, which uses electric, and you have solar, on this new bill, you'll be charged, if it's 32 kilowatt, I believe it's close to $500, if that is running for an average of 1 hour. That's not including any other loads in the house. That's not electric cars, that's not water pumps, that's not hot tub, that's not anything like that. That will charge you a demand charge that you've never seen before on your power bill. You think your power bills are high now. You wait until we get demand charges. So currently the demand charge is only on commercial customers. If you're a commercial customer, you know what I mean. Half of your bill is probably a demand charge, especially in the winter. And it starts at 20 kilowatts. So it doesn't start at 0. So that's what they're imposing or proposing for this new net metering, and it's going to decimate solar. There's no question. Their solution is, well, you can put a battery in. Nobody's putting a battery in to run your house on a rainy day for 15 hours long. Do you know how big that battery is? Especially since you've converted us all to electric and electric types of heat, so heat pumps and electric water heaters and stuff. Off-gridders like myself, we don't use electric water heaters and stuff like that. And I'm going to get into that at the end of this video, because that's what you need to be worried about, is alternative methods of heating that's not electric. And I'm not talking to the customer, I'm talking to you, NB Power. So the demand charge is going to decimate the net metering program. Nobody's going to go on it. My question to those who are involved with net metering at NB Power is, what are you going to do next year with your time? You need to start looking for other jobs within NB Power, of course, because there is not going to be one net metering application come from this guy. And you know how many we put in right now. So that's the bad part. Let's get into some more stuff. So the peak times are going to be between 7 and 10 p.m., which is ludicrous. It's never been done before. They do have some comparables. I was in a few meetings this week, and any comparables with demand charges on residential customers are all coming from places where the climate is nowhere near here. It's like Georgia, Arizona, Texas. It's like, why are we paying these consultants? These consultants there's no accountability behind them. I don't know why we're using those comparables. Come on, get your head out of your butts. Thank you. Okay, so next thing that they're talking about, more bad things. I guess I kind of covered most of it, but the big thing is going to be that demand charge. And like I said, their argument is, oh, we'll just put a battery in. Or the solar customers have sun all day long. You know, right now it's almost the longest day of the year. It's between 7 and 10 p.m. We actually have daylight the whole time. Well, guess what? It rains out. And a customer can put a battery in. And if they don't have sun to cover their power during the rest of the day, then guess what? They're going to pull from the grid. And they only have to hit a peak demand once during the month. So are you going to have one crappy day during the month? Yes, you are, especially in the wintertime. So I can't recommend that anybody do that. I would recommend to avoid the demand charge, you stay on the regular programming like everybody else. Screw solar. That's no option. Like after if this comes out, and I don't know who runs these models. Like I said, I don't think anybody put themselves in the shoes of the customer. Surprise, surprise. There is no way to shelter yourself from the poor decisions of NB Power if this comes into effect. Now, what really cheeses me is the opportunity that is being thrown away, and nobody is listening. I can do the podcasts, and I can go to the meetings, and I can send the emails, and I have done all this crap 15 years ago. And I've made it to the 9th floor at NB Power while they were trying to plug an extension cord into the friggin' ocean and make electricity. And I'm the guy that doesn't know anything. My frig, what a waste of time. Yeah, this is a rant on NB Power. You guys out there in charge of this operation, you need to start listening. And if you don't listen, you're going to get more of this, where your ambassador switches and turns on you because you will not listen. What is this opportunity that you speak of, Mr. Fowler? We are in a controversial time where we're running out of electricity because we've electrified everything and we're forcing everyone to electric cars, and all our heat in our homes are all electric. So now we get all our eggs in one basket. The insurance companies are telling us to get rid of our wood stoves. And guess what? This winter, if LaPro wasn't running, which I don't know how it was because it never runs, ever. And we're going to do more nuclear. It kept the province from having rolling blackouts. And not only did it keep this province from rolling blackouts, it kept Nova Scotia and it kept PEI from rolling blackouts. So what is the solution? A peaker plant, the Tantramar peaker plant. Of course, they had to put it right near the most environmentally defensive batch of people in New Brunswick. I mean, nothing by that. I just mean that it's in a Tantramar. It's in the Mar. There's obviously a lot of controversy around that, and the reality is there's probably a lot of natural gas there underneath there. Let's just be honest here. That's probably what's going to fuel that thing. Now, what is this opportunity that I speak of? Well, you've heard it come out of these lips before, and it's batteries, and it's beating the peak. What happened to the Beat the Peak program that we were pounding the drums about 15 years ago? Did that person retire? Like, I don't know. Where did that go? So we have these peaks, and it ain't between 7 and 10 o'clock at night. That's your base load. That's what we use during the daytime. The peaks, as shown by NB Power on their commercial rebate program, are between 7 and 9 in the morning and between 5 and 8 o'clock at night. That's your actual peaks. We need to have a peaker plant for the really, really cold days. And it's not just for us, it's for all the Maritimes. We have the potential to make some money here. One of them looks like it's going to go through, and they're going to go for a second one. The reality is they need to do their homework, and they need to understand that lithium iron phosphate batteries have dropped 70% in the last 3 years, and they are being implemented all over the world. And we are installing them. I've installed probably 6 in the last week of these things. People are paying, and they're putting them on their own homes with their own money. And they are absolutely available for the power companies to use. And they had a program in Nova Scotia. It's on pause right now. I'm not sure why. I think the uptake was really good. Look at New Zealand. Look at Australia. The power companies are paying for peak time power, and they're buying it from the shareholders of the companies that they own. So NB Power could be purchasing electricity for half of the rate that they're paying Hydro-Quebec or somebody else to serve their needs during a peak time. They could be paying the customers half of the rate that they pay the neighbors, keeping their money local, stimulating jobs in the area and my posse, and educating people around electricity, because half of the people out there don't know what a kilowatt hour is. And they don't need to spend billions of dollars on power plants that actually have to pay for the fuel. So you can be doing these, and right now, every one of my customers, if they had a battery, I can make their load profile flat as a pancake. What is the value of that? How come the consultants haven't looked at the value of that? Why are my tax dollars not being paid to pay these clowns at these different consulting companies to figure that out? In yesterday's meeting that I was in, it was asked when we were talking about the proposed net metering changes, has anybody looked into the value of batteries in this situation? Nobody did. Oh my word. Where is my money going? Stop doing old stupid things. I want my kids to not have $50 billion worth of debt with the NB Power, because that's what it's looking like. Correct me if I'm wrong. Half of the generators are going to crap. You don't even need half of the generators if you could figure a way to beat the peak from the program that you guys killed 15 years ago. Now we have an opportunity, and you've got people out there that are doing it and living it right now that have a solution that will save this province billions of dollars just in construction. Let's not talk about fuel. And nobody's run the numbers on that. Why am I paying you? Why? We want to take the customers that could be and are part of what could be the solution and decimate a program that could actually bring energy storage and solve peak times with, a 3-hour peak or a 2-hour peak. Let's be realistic here. We're not building peaker plants for a 15-hour long peak all day long. My word. I'm telling you, sometimes NB Power, I think you guys couldn't run a one-man ambush. All right. As you know, I don't always like to rant without a solution. There are solutions. If you don't want to decimate the solar and storage industry in this province, here's what you need to do. Please tune in. Tell the kids to be quiet and listen to this. It's very important. I agree that dumping solar to the grid does not help the grid. We need to be able to dump solar to the grid at certain times. We have the technology. It exists. You don't have to pay for it. You just need a fair policy, and the people will build it, and will save you money. You won't be buying it from Quebec for twice the price of what you'll be paying it to the people who own NB Power. So let's make some tweaks to your proposed plan. 40% off your power. Sweet deal. Great. Awesome. I mean, no one really asked for that, but it is kind of the bait and switch there. I got you on that one. So the demand charge. Give us a realistic demand charge. You have shared load profiles from this entire province with me. I know what it looks like. It is not a 15-hour long peak. I don't know where that came from. Nice try. If it's a 2-hour peak, we will install batteries. The customers will gladly install batteries to float that peak. You want to come out with time of use rates and apply them to everybody. those rates might be half price in the middle of the night, and they might be 40 cents a kilowatt hour during a peak. I'm okay with that. It's going to cost you guys. You got to align your rates with what it costs you to generate. It's going to modify my behavior if you make the electricity 40 cents a kilowatt hour between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning. But guess what? I will gladly take that low overnight rate, and I will gladly take that peak time of 40, 60, $1 a kilowatt hour, as long as you give me the opportunity to avoid it. And I will install a battery that will run for 2 to 3 hours on most houses, and we'll recharge that during the non-peak times, and we'll use your electricity to do it. We might use solar. It's cheaper for us, but there's days like today it won't work. The peak times for the demand needs to change. It's unrealistic. There is no good data behind it, and you know it. That needs to change. That would be a great start. Okay, so the demand charge. Customers in this province do not even know what a kilowatt hour is, and you're going to dump a demand charge of $13 per kilowatt that starts at zero. The only people who know what a demand charge is here, and this is energy literacy, the only ones who know, and some of them don't, but they just pay it, are the commercial customers. If you use over 20 kilowatts, if you rev that engine to 20 and you go past that, guess what? Then you're going to get charged. So customers, the commercial customers know this. You're going to dump this on a residential customer. Of course, you chose the solar customers because they're more educated and they'll understand it quicker, which is not a good reason to penalize somebody. If you want to talk about fairness across the board, the solar customers get a demand charge that starts at zero, and they also get a demand charge for 13 cents. Terrible. Okay, so if you started that, let's look at the base loads of homes. I have energy monitors across the whole province and Nova Scotia. And if you look at the base loads of people's homes, they might use, in the wintertime, they might average 3,000 watts. I can take a customer like that and keep their base load under 3 kilowatts. We're going to throw a battery in, we're going to do peak shaving. It's not going to spike the grid. Guess what? Every customer I touch just helped you with your peak. You don't need the peaker plant. And you're going to incentivize customers. The ROI in Nova Scotia on a battery system is like 3 or 4 years. People, you have their attention with that. They can help be part of the solution. And guess what? You don't have to put fuel in that battery from natural gas. You don't have to fuel that peaker plant. They can just slowly fill that pod up, and the power, if it's behind the meter, it's local. It's where it's being used. You don't have to put it centralized and shove it through 4 transformers and get half your power by the time you get it to where it's going. Okay, so that I think would be smart. If you cap the customers at a certain, I'm okay with a demand charge. Don't start it at 0. Start it at 5. Start it at 10. Let's talk about it. How come nobody's talking? Nobody wants to listen. Okay, so the customers are willing to help. Let's talk about grandfathering on the existing customers. You have customers out there who have spent $20,000. You have customers who have spent $80,000 on a system based on the existing net metering plan. They account for 0.5% of all of the customers, the residential customers, in the entire province. You can't tell me they are causing a disruption to the grid. You're going to have to prove to me through the process that that is the case. You want to cap them at 10 years. So you want to cap them at 10 years grandfathering. And the reason is because you went on one of my competitors' websites and you said, oh, I see the payback for your system is 10 years. This is from NB Power. Careful what you tell me. It'll end up on the internet. So customers, fun fact, like your pension, are not buying a system to pay it off. They are not saying, oh, I should go and buy this investment and then I'll get my money back on an investment after 10 years. Wouldn't that be great? No, they're paying for the lifetime of the system, which is typically 30 years. So you're paying into your pension with the idea that it's going to pay you and feed you until you're dead. How about I take your NB Power pensions and we say, well, you put in $30,000, so we'll give you $30,000 back. But you have to have used it up by the time you're 67. That's okay. I mean, who cares, right? I mean, you're doing it to us. So just be mindful of that. It's called empathy. You put yourself in the other person's shoes. You created a policy People bought into it, and now you're pulling the rug out, and you're wondering why. Your PR on Facebook and any PR with NB Power is an absolute train wreck. And then you got guys like me out there trying to help guys like you fix it, and you make it friggin' tough. Next. Yeah, so no one ever evaluates the value of good PR and all being in this together, do they? So, anyway, I have a few notes here. We feel backed into a corner. Customers feel backed into a corner. I think you need to be very careful. Customers, the technology that's out there now, and you'll say, oh, I don't care if people go off grid. I can tell you with the technology we have out there now, it's actually really easy to go off grid. And I'm probably going to release a guide for the new homeowner on how to avoid a power bill for the rest of their life, because you're looking at a guy who's never had a power bill ever. So a couple little key features. You need to take care of your electrical or your heating, and it cannot be electrical. Your heating and your hot water need to be firewood. And you got to watch it, because there's people out there that in Montreal, they're banning wood stoves because of the emissions or whatever. Talk about feeling backed in the corner. You don't want to back a guy burning firewood into a corner, I can tell you that. It's going to be firewood, it's going to be wood pellets, it's going to be propane, and it's going to be oil. And those two last ones are kind of out of our control. But I can tell you that firewood lives right out that window, and wood pellets live 5 kilometers up the road. And it comes from trees that are right out that window. Small little ecosystem, don't have many fingers in the pot, don't have the potential of poor decisions, and you can live like a king in your own little ecosystem. If you want to live off grid, you got to take care of your hot water and your heating. The rest is easy. And we'll talk about that in future videos. NB Power, you need to be very conscious, because you will lose customers and they will go off grid. I've had 2 customers today call me and said, I am not sending another nickel of my power back to NB Power after the 10 years. I'm going to have a battery, and I'm going to have a different fuel source, and they can stick it. That's happening right now. That's not what you want. And you've got guys like me out there that want to help people like you, but you need to do this really cool thing called listen. I am your boots on the ground. Anyways, that was a long video. Fun fact, of all the customers had a battery right now, all the solar customers had a battery, 10 kilowatt battery. We could dump 42 megawatts back into the grid for 1.5 hours. And people, you wouldn't have to pay for it. The NB Power would not have to pay for it. I said this before in one of my videos where I'm walking in the woods ranting like I am now. Give us the policy and we'll build you the solution. That's all that we're asking. Give us the policy and we'll build you the solution. When you start slamming doors with these policies, with these bogus, like, honestly, you guys at Net Metering and NB Power, you need to find a new job, because you're not going to have one next year. And yeah, you'll be in customer service or move somewhere around the organization because it's too expensive to get rid of this. But anyways, that's the reality of things. You need to speak with the guys in the business. You need to actually call the customers and say, hey, we're going to come up with this new thing. What do you think? I guarantee you never had one customer that if you called one, that said, hey, that's a freaking great idea. That's a great idea. You should do that. We'd love to find a reason to regret putting solar in, and we'd love to pay a demand charge, and we'd love to what's going to happen is you're going to have customers that just go back to regular programming to avoid the demand charge, or they're going to put in a second meter to avoid the demand charge. That's what's going to happen. Nobody thought of that. How come nobody talks? Anyways, that's your rant for the day. Fun fact, if you like what you saw, I don't just rant and talk about policy. I actually install solar. We installed over $1 million of solar in the first quarter of this year. And now you'll say, well, yeah, of course, he's pretty passionate about this stuff. It's killing his business. Trust me, I can find lots to do. But I like common sense businesses and things that make sense. And what really cheeses me about this whole thing is the opportunity for the province to save billions of dollars, and people will voluntarily pay for it. But nobody's listening. Anyways, if you'd like to have solar, you can go to eastcoastsun.ca, fill out the form. I will design you a system based on the current policy. Everyone is trying to get in before October in case this makes it through. I am actively trying to fight it using videos like this, and I'm also an intervener with the EUB, where I try to stop this from going through and talk common sense into some people. I don't know how effective I will be at it. I don't know if they'll keep me in there after I put out stuff like this. But anyway, to all of you at NB Power that watch every one of my videos, thanks for watching. Please remember, we are all in this together. You can make better decisions. And don't be so hard-headed. Open up your eyes. Thank you. Have a good day.